Hello, my dear students. Good morning and welcome to Edu Shastra. I am Vinod Shankaran, and this session is devoted to analyzing the last 3 years' papers, VARC papers, and we'll also do some questions from the previous years. This is important in the sense that you will at least have an idea of what kind of questions to. As such, CAT is the most unpredictable of exams that you can actually see. There is no fixed pattern as such. We observe trends and we say, okay, this could be the thing, like this could be the way the question paper would be set. But it is not to say that because I told you so, it is going to happen the same way. Okay, so the one most important thing you should understand is we can observe trends, but you'll not be able to predict exactly what is going to happen in the exam. Even the number of questions, they may reduce a number of some number of questions, increase some. They can touch on topics that they have been doing, say, in 2000s and 2005, etc., and they may actually bring it back. Okay, there have been many different kinds of questions that have come and gone, but knowing, say, analyzing the last three papers should at least give us some idea about how they could appear this year also. Okay, ready? Ready, all of you? Yes? So let's learn that. Let's see what has happened. Okay. The first one is, look at this table. That is the most important part. Okay, look at this table. This will give you a very good idea. Okay, 2020, the number of questions. Okay, the number of questions you see. The number of questions from reading comprehension 2020 was 16 to 18 questions. Now that is the thing. That is what you need to expect is reading comprehension questions are not going to be any less. You can see that. It is almost identical all the 3 years. Reading comprehension passages, they are moderate to difficult. 2021, it was easy. Some one or two passages very easy to do, two were very difficult. And 2022 moderate to difficult. So you can expect a level of moderate to difficult level questions passages. Now it's a different thing talking about the passage and the questions. Okay, people have this. People say moderate to difficult or easy in terms of what the questions asked or the passage themselves or both. Okay, so it's very important to understand what exactly is we are talking about. We'll talk about that a little later. So what I'm trying to tell you is it's important to understand that reading comprehension will play the most important role in your cracking the exam. So if you have not been doing enough reading comprehension passages, start doing them. It's very, very important. Okay, increasing speed, reading a variety of subjects. We'll also talk about that. What kind of subjects come and where do they come from? We'll also talk about those. Okay. And before we come there, what we need to do is understand at least you will at least have four passages and four questions apiece, at least. Some of them may have 5 or 6 questions also. Okay, so that is the first thing to pay attention to. That is reading comprehension is going to be there, come what. Okay, and verbal ability questions. The next ones are called verbal ability questions, where primarily parajumbles and summary questions make a lot of this one. That is, they seem to be the preference of the CAT exams. Okay, the parajumbles and the summary. Grammar questions are almost zero. They did not appear in all the 3 years. Okay, there were no grammar questions as such. One or two sets may have had them, but on an average, they did not have them. Okay, so verbal ability, but then you cannot choose to leave grammar also. That is another thing, because that most unpredictable thing is the CAT. Okay, this year we may find four grammar questions making headway. Okay, so nothing is to be taken for granted. If they say they are going to test grammar, they will. Okay, in one or the other side they will. So MCQs and TTAs are type in the answers. Now this is slightly difficult in the sense you don't have the options to work with, but at least you have a grace, the saving graces, that at least there is no negative marking for that. Okay, so verbal ability questions 8 to 10, rearrange. I'll show you the questions, the actual questions, so that you get an idea of how these questions come. Okay, and you see the same pattern in 2021 and 2022 also. Okay, parajumbles, summary questions, and odd one out, but everything related to passages only. Everything related to passages only. So this is the primary thing to keep in mind, that mostly you're going to encounter reading comprehension passages and parajumbles and say summaries and complete the theme, etc. Okay, but please don't think that other parts are not going to be important. Okay, so whatever grammar is being taught in classes, whatever vocabulary is all the time important for even reading comprehension and for anything. Vocabulary is an absolute must. So keep this in mind. This is the first thing to. This is one of the things to keep in mind. How would questions? What kind of questions can you expect in this year's CAT also? But but if there are grammar questions, then you should be prepared. If there are vocabulary questions, you should be prepared. Don't say that, sir, you showed us a pattern, and in the last 3 years, no vocabulary questions had come. So this year also, it won't come. Nobody can vouch for that. Okay. So, and let's look at the questions now. Passage types, what kinds of passages has comes up? Technology based questions or technology based passages, psychology, music, philosophy, art, etc. Again, what we do in the classes, all those topics are touched upon, which we discuss in the classes. So there is absolutely no way saying that's is there a choice I can have. There are 4 passages. Some of them might be easy, some of them might be moderate to difficult. But is there a way you can choose which passages to do? I think yes, because we are never supposed to answer all the questions. Hmm. In a percentile, game, it is always hmm, if it's a percentile game, it's all about attempting a certain percent of questions. Attempting a certain percent of questions. It's not about attempting all. So you don't have to worry about, sir, should I attempt all the passages? Then there is a good thing coming up here. See, suppose there are 4 passages, of which 3 you are comfortable with, 1 you are not comfortable with. You don't have to touch it. You can go to the other types of questions like parajumbles and complete the theme, etc. Okay, it's not important that you attempt all the 4 passages. Now, people keep asking me, sir, how would I know that it is difficult or not until and unless I start reading? Read the first paragraph if you must. You'll get an idea what it relates to. Okay, and choose your area. Say, okay, these are the areas I'm not comfortable with. Now, let me tell you, till the time you have to, till your exams, make sure that you read topics that you are not comfortable with. Okay, because the comfortable ones, the topics that you are comfortable with, you will always do them. Read those articles which you are not comfortable with, so that even if you're a set of questions, okay, they have two subjects, both of which you are not very comfortable with, you are at least able to attempt the questions. Okay, so try to choose topics that you are not really comfortable with. Most of us find it difficulty with philosophy, psychology, etc. Technology also. You should try them. Okay. Types of questions. Now, again, there is another thing. This is the density of the text, or let's say the complexity of the text. But then this is not all that a problem, depending upon what you have been doing all these years. Like till your graduation also, you have pursued a particular stream of study, science, arts, something of commerce. So some of them you will always be comfortable with, and some of them you will not be comfortable with. And reading the passage and understanding the passage, in my view, it's not difficult. At least with all that information contained in the passage, you'll make some sense of it. I mean, you won't be like beating about the bush, or you'll be not meandering in the dark. The problem happens with the questions. It is usually the questions that we do not understand. So the focus should be on how to answer questions, okay? And mostly all these years, the questions have been direct and comprehension based questions. There have been no inferential questions, okay? Now, which is a good thing. Inferential questions, assumptions, weaken the argument, strengthen the argument, okay? What is the fallacy? All these things are have not been asked in the last 3 years, but not to say that they don't ask. They would, they do ask, okay? But they have not been found. So if this is direct questions and comprehension based questions, like what is the title, what is the tone, and what is the title, what is the tone, and what is the, say, summary of the passage, or the primary purpose of the passage, those are very easy, okay? So the questions have been really easy to deal with. Okay, the options could have been difficult, but then all those things we like actually discuss in classes: how to approach answering questions, how to approach reading, and how to approach answering questions. These two are very different. Okay, sources, where do they actually take these passages from? So it is New York Times, Eon, The Scientist, The Hindu, The Conversation. There are many good magazines and magazines and say websites that write really quality material. So usually these are the places they take the articles from. So if you have a habit of reading the NYT on Conversation, okay, The Scientist, The Hindu, etc., the editorial pages of Hindu, etc., you should do fine. You have to have that habit of reading. Now between okay, okay, and here, okay, Ashish, how will we choose a passage? Skim reading 4 pages and selecting 2 3 we are comfortable with. Absolutely, Ashish. Ashish, that is what you do. You choose. How do you choose a passage? Read the first paragraphs of all the passages, and then also have a look at the questions. What kind of questions are you comfortable with? Are you comfortable with the say? Are you comfortable with the direct questions, the indirect questions, or the inferential questions? See, and if you see that, okay, I can very easily do inferential questions, and there are 3 here. So even if the passages are a little difficult to read, you can actually choose to go ahead. Okay, you can actually choose to go ahead and read. Okay. Mm. Okay. How much time should we spend for this? A maximum of 5 minutes. See, it is always better to analyze your problem, then start the paper, and as you go along, you keep analyzing. That will not happen. So again, the best thing to do, better thing to do would be always every section, when you have the time, spend the first 5 minutes analyzing the paper. See which, suppose an easy question is coming later in the passage, later in the questions, in the question set. Is it necessary to stick to the first one? As soon as I start see the passage, when I see the passage, I start doing it. It's not necessary. So skipping the questions, actually getting an idea of what kind of questions have been asked that year, it will actually tell you what to do. Okay. How many RCs do you suggest we should practice daily? At least, see, read 2 passages, 2 long essays, 1. While reading, keep your mind open. What is being said? What kind of questions may be asked? And then you try to understand also. So you question the reader. You question the, sorry, writer. Ask him to answer it through the from the passage itself. Okay. Okay. So that's what I'm telling you. Now listen. What I'm saying is the best thing to do is to make sure you do 2 passages, read 2 long essays from Eon or anywhere. But make sure that you're doing at least 4 RC passages with questions to practice reading fast, to practice what strategy you're going to apply to reading. That is, you're going to read the passage and then the question first, and then the passage, or you're going to do simultaneously, which I suggest. I tell my students that it is important that you read the passage and the questions together. It gives you a lot of insight and grounding on what is being talked about in the passage. So my thing is, whenever, if it is possible, if I cannot skip to the next question, then it's a different thing. But if I can skip to the next question, then I'll read the passage and the questions together. That is, I'll read one paragraph, maybe watch see one or two questions, then read the next paragraph, read one or two questions, and keep answering as I read. That way, I can I can retain information. I can retain information. The information is fresh in my mind. I understand the question better and the options better. Anything will work. Shruti, see, everything will work as long as your target is to make sure that between 65% to 85% of the questions according to the passage itself. So suppose the question you feel has been easy. The passages are easy, the questions are easy. Your target should be to attempt 85% of the questions. You think it is moderate to difficult. Okay, it is easy to moderate. Okay, then you keep it at 85. If you think it is difficult to moderate, then you keep it between 65 and 75% of the questions. Therefore, if there are 20 questions, you attempt about 15, but you try to get them right. That is the biggest thing. The accuracy has to be 100%. That is what you strive for. That is, if I attempt one question, it has to be correct. If I attempt five, they have to be correct. If I attempt 10, they have to be correct. That is the only thing here. See, in CAT, it's not about the number of questions you attempt. It's about how accurate you are. Okay, somebody attempts 20 questions and gets 10 wrong, and somebody attempts say 12 questions and gets all of them right, then maybe he has got a better chance of cracking it. Okay, passage difficulty is medium to difficult passages, and question difficulty is easy to medium. This is what has been observed in the last 3 years. Okay, so that is one of the things to do. Yes, Aditya, you calculate, do the calculation. See, it's the number of questions. Sometimes the number of questions decrease or increase. It's about 26, okay, 25, 26 questions. Okay, so you do the calculation at about 65% to 85%, how many questions you should attempt. Okay, so that is one of the things to do. Now let's see the questions themselves. See, and said, what is the why I was talking about something very, very important. I said, why should you do at least 3 to 4 passages with questions every day? Passages with questions. That is almost a mock test. Almost a mock test. Okay. Why I'm asking you to do this is not for the marks. Not for the marks. Not in the beginning now. If you're starting the mock tests now, don't look for marks. Don't look for the percentile. See how well you can develop a strategy. That is, how are you going to read? Which reading are you comfortable with? Reading the questions and then reading the passage, or reading the passage and then reading the questions? Selection of the passages. Selection of the questions, that is. Okay, you devote time to all these in the beginning. And as you go along, that becomes second nature to you. Then you can think about marks. Okay, for at least in one or two, at least in 4 or 5 mock tests, you should make it important. You should time yourself first of all to increase the speed. Time yourself. Adopt one strategy that works for you. Okay, reading strategy, selection strategy, timing strategy. Okay, you do these, and the kind of questions that you can answer. Okay, the types of questions that you are comfortable with. Okay, types of questions you are comfortable with. So if you can do this in, say, that the first 10 mock tests, and you're using the time very well, and you're also, or if you're not doing the mock tests, do these 3 to 4 passages every day with questions, making sure that you are timing yourself, you're selecting the right passage to do. Okay, you say there are 1, 2, 3, 4 in your material. There are 4 passages. Go one by one. See which ones you are comfortable with. Start doing them. Okay, this is very, very important. Developing a strategy. Okay, developing a strategy for the last 5 mock tests. Developing a strategy for the last 5 mock tests. That is, if you have, say, 20 mock tests in your set, okay, you make sure that at least 10 go into making a strategy for yourself. You're sure that you are going to do it this way. In the examination hall, you're not going to change. The next 10 will be devoted to improving your marks and accuracy, etc. Is that clear? First of all, have a very solid plan. This is what I'm going to do in the examination hall. Because what happens is you don't have a strategy till the last mock test, and then you get into the exam. And then there you try something new altogether. You'll have to wait for another year. Okay? Don't try anything new in the examination hall, not at all. You should stick to what you have practiced. Okay? If I go to play a cricket match, then if I know how to play the straight drive, if I practice straight drive, I should do it that same way even in the uh, match. Okay, I should not try anything new. It is not worth it. Okay, so develop a strategy, stick to it, and go. Okay, so you get an idea now about VARC, what we are supposed to do. Read passages, that is important. Read at least 2 long passages every day, and do at least 2 to 4 passages every day. With the idea to develop, like, increase your reading speed, develop a strategy to how to read the passages, pick up the questions, the right questions to answer, the right questions to answer, and the right questions to leave, saying that, okay, this is one thing I'm not sure about, I'm not going to do it. Ashish, Ashish, ask the support team. The support team will help you. Support at edushastra.com, they'll help you. What is the ideal time to doing an RC? Ankit, uh, see, again, if you ask me, the ideal time might vary, but what I should try to avoid is reading the passage multiple times. That is where your speed goes. That is where your speed goes. See, it doesn't matter if I tell you read a paragraph of a passage of about, say, 400 words. I say in 3 minutes or 4 minutes. Okay, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Well, if you're going to read it again, then you're going to take 15 minutes for one passage. Okay, so the best approach is, if you do not know it, what this is the best approach I have seen: simultaneous reading. Read the first few sentences. Okay, look into the questions. Question number 1, 2, and question number 3, maybe. Okay, now the questions actually help you understand the passage also. Do you know that? You will see that when you read the first paragraph. See question number 1, 2. Don't look at the options. Just see question number 1, 2, and 3, and you will get a bearing. Oh, it seems the passage is going to talk about this. Okay, it actually helps you. And then again, start reading the second paragraph, and you see, suppose you get the answer to question number 2 here itself. You are now going to come back to the passage again to answer this, and you did not find the answer to the question number 1 in the first paragraph. So this is not going to be answered from the first paragraph. The second one you have answered. The third one, again, there is no information in the first paragraph. Okay. So the best thing to do is do simultaneous reading. That is what I practice, and it works very fine for me. I don't know about some students come and vouch for that. Say, sir, what you suggested works the best for me. But then, what works for you is the best. It's something that it's a completely preference, okay, that I have developed. It works for me. I used to do that. I used to read the passage, go to the questions, get lost, again read the passage, then I used to read the questions and try to skim, as they would say. Won't work. Okay, I would still end up reading the passage multiple times. I said, okay, what is the best way? So I started reading together. I do much better now. Okay, so it's all about what you want to do. Okay, and what works for me may not work for you. Now, this is the first reading comprehension question. Try this. But I won't be able to, I won't be able to help you with the questions right away. I cannot show you the questions because of the setting, okay, of the kind of class setting that we have here. Okay, so you'll have to read it, please. Okay, but what do you read? Let me see. How do you read? What should we read for? We should read for the primary purpose. As soon as you start reading, you ask yourself, what are you actually trying to tell me? And usually what the author wants to say, the point he wants to make, is very at the initial stages of the paragraph itself. Nobody wants to beat about the bush. Okay, so whatever the main point he wants to make, might be there in the first few paragraph, first few lines themselves. Okay, so I'm not saying that it is going to be there all the time, but mostly yes. So when you keep an eye on that, and once you finish first paragraph, you see the question. Read the second paragraph, read the question. Okay. So I'll ask you one question once you read this. I'll ask you, did you spot the primary purpose of the author in the first slide? Okay, that is one question you should expect. Okay, beta Bhavani. Okay, please do. Hmm. So done reading, all of you? Done reading? So what are we discussing till now? Which sentence do you think is the most important sentence? This is why I say if you are able to see the questions, then this would actually help you. Do you understand that? This will actually help you understand the passage itself if you can see the questions and the paragraph together. Suppose after reading this first para, I was able to I was able to see the first two questions, question number 1 and 2, or say question number 1, 2, and 3 also. Then immediately you would understand, oh, this is where the passage is heading. The questions actually help you. Okay. If I were to set the paper, I will not show you the questions until unless you have read the passage. If I want to make it very difficult for you, or I want to test your ability to retain information once you have read it. If I wanted to test that, but it is not about retention of information. It's about being able to spot the correct answers and understand the passage well. Okay, so it is not about retention. Therefore, they show you the questions together. Okay, and here, see, do you think this sentence is important? Do you think this sentence is important? Ha, quickly tell me, does that sentence, did you understand that sentence? In the evolution of political ideas, anarchism can be seen as an ultimate projection of both liberalism and socialism, and the differing stands of anarchist thought can be related to their emphasis on one or other ideas or other of these. Do you agree that the rest of the passage is going to be talking about different kinds of anarchic thought? It's going to talk about different. Do you? If you're thinking that way, then you're thinking absolutely correctly. You know what is happening historically. Now he starts, goes back, and starts from here. Anarchism is what? Okay, and he extends the thought here. Okay, these two paragraphs are about extending the thought historically, talking about anarchism. What should come in the following paragraphs? What do you see? What do you think? What do you think should come in the other paragraphs? That is called anticipation in reading. That's called anticipation in reading. What should come in the other slides? Uh, other kinds of anarchic thought. Other kinds of anarchic thought. Now read. That will help you. That is all you need to do. Now read now. Now, here is where I will tell you, read fast and keep watching the questions. Read fast and keep watching the questions. If there are direct questions, if these are direct questions, you'll be able to answer them immediately. And you'll also be able to understand the passage. Okay. Apart from, you ask me how to read the passage first. Rather ask me how to read the passage only once and make sure that I answer all the questions. That's a more relevant question. Done reading, beta? Raghav, okay. Vaibhav, okay. Raghav, Vaibhav, done. Okay. Others, take your time. Take your time. I see, because I'm not showing you that uh, like questions and this one together, right? The question and the passage together. So take your time. You can practice reading faster when you are doing your mock tests. Here, try to understand the passage. But because you have understood the main idea that we are going to discuss different forms of anarchic thought, huh? Different forms of anarchic thought, then like relating to these paragraphs becomes very easy. Achha, if I ask you a question, if you have finished reading, I'll ask you a question here itself. Done, all of you? Okay. So tell me something. How do these two paragraphs connect? What is being discussed here? How do these paragraphs connect? What is the link between these two paragraphs? Which thought? Rohan, no. I want a phrase that you should have watched towards the end of the previous paragraph. Acha, acha. Are they different, Aditya? Vaibhav? See, this is what happens with our this one that parajumbles, putting the paragraphs together, putting the paragraphs together. What are we talking about here? Uh, okay, some another prefer. Okay, desirable freedom of an individual or family to possess, and then what is he talking about here? See, what is he talking about? That connection, okay, that ability to spot connections, okay, is what is very important. When you are reading, you read well, you need to understand what the second paragraph purports to do. Is it a different form of anarchy that is being discussed, or what has already been said in the previous paragraph? Now you tell me, what are we talking about in the last paragraph? We are talking about individual anarchy. That is, it says individualist anarchism. It says individual anarchism is what we are talking about, right? We are talking about individual anarchism. Okay. हाँ. Yes. So ये देखो, the ability to spot what is being discussed, the what thought has been extended here, what is individual anarchism. बस और कुछ नहीं. There are, sir, unsurprisingly, several traditions of individualist anarchism. Individual and anarchism itself is a different thing, and these are the sub divisions of individual anarchism. Okay, so when you are reading, always make sure that you understand how one paragraph leads to the other. This helps us in doing para completion. Okay, para completion, para jumbles. Okay, always try to understand the link between two paragraphs when you end two paragraphs. And once you have done that, and when you have time, always also think about how one sentence, the first sentence, connects to the second one. On what basis, what thought has been extended in the next sentence. You do this, your para jumbles, your jumbled paragraphs will become very easy for you. You will actually see why after this sentence has to be written. Why not the other way around? This could have gone up and this could have come down. Why not? You just keep asking that questions for a period of time. Para jumbles will improve automatically. You'll start doing your para jumbles all on your own without much trouble. Do you get my point? Okay, so let's come to the questions now. Which one of the following best expresses the similarity between American individualist anarchists and free market liberals, as well as the difference between the former and the latter? Now, what kind of question is this? Is it a direct question? Is it a direct question for which you will find the answer printed? Okay, in one paragraph or the other? Or is it an indirect question? Or it's a comprehension based question? What do you think is the answer? What do you think is the answer? Is it a direct question, an indirect question, or yes, comprehension based question? Is it primary purpose? The comprehension based questions are four. Comprehension based questions are four. If you do not know, let me tell you. Primary purpose, title, tone, structure. Are these? Do you think they fall into any of these categories? Is this indirect? Is it asking you assumptions? Assumptions, inferences, strengthening argument, weakening argument? Are these questions like these? No. These are direct questions, which means when you're reading the passage, you'll actually be able to spot the answers. This is why I say if you're reading the passage and the questions together, then you will actually spot the answer to this. Okay, as you are reading, you'll spot the answer to this. You can mark it. Direct question hai ye. Achha, where did you read about American individual anarchists and you read about, say, free market liberals as well as difference between the former and the latter? Okay, American individual anarchists and free market liberals. Where did you third paragraph? Okay, let's go back to the passage. Did we see it in the third paragraph here or in the next slide? Where did you see the about the American individual anarchists? We are talking about the individual anarchists. So where did we see? Almost in the last paragraph, sir. Of course, very good. So you know the spot now. You know the spot where you saw the space where you saw the information. Let me keep my picture off because I'll be sitting on the passage itself. Okay. So now you see here the mainstream anarchists. So now you can read this, and if you were reading this and you say, acha, 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 I've come to the place where the answer is, then you will read it and answer it immediately. As you are reading the last two paragraphs, you would answer the first question. Understand my point? Why I say read the questions and the passages together? Huh? So tell me which one is the correct answer. Read it, and then we can go to the questions. So it's a very direct question. Okay, see, kitna aasan ho jata hai if you were reading the passage and the questions together. So which one is the correct one? Which one is the correct answer? Vaibhav, I think your answer is correct, beta. Nadeem, very good. See, so Varun, see, is it a very difficult exam? CAT? It's not. If you know what to do with the questions. See, I've gotten three answers and three of them are correct. You can go back to the passage. See, when you're reading it together, you can read that place say, 5 times, 6 times because it's a direct question. Evaluate the options. Thus, you will be learning in the classes, okay, how to evaluate the options. Okay, you will always get it right. Okay, others, Lalita, want to see the passage again? Ankit, Tarka, Ashish, want to see the passage again? I can show it to you again. Harsh, Jatin, Jyoti, Raghav, Shruti, want to see the passage again to answer this question? Because you have to get an idea of how to answer direct questions. Just read, come back to the options. Read, come back to the options. Match one. Done. No, Rohan. Read the last para itself. Read this itself. This is more than enough. This is to give you an idea of what individual anarchism is, and this makes it this the question answer is here. The answer is here. Absolutely, Aditya. Absolutely. Arka, there are so many people who are not answering. Man, I don't know. Varun. Acha, Varun to de. Udipta. Praveen. Very good. See, the answer is pretty clear. So, likha hi hai. Both prioritize. Okay? Which one best expresses the similarity? Which one best expresses? Both priorities individual autonomy, but the farmer is American individual. Emphasizes on mutual dependence while the latter do not do so. It's an easy one. Okay, the second one is the answer for this. Try the second question. The author makes all of the following arguments in the passage except he does not make one argument. Now, see again, when you were dealing with this question, where, yeah, it is second. Okay, when you are dealing with this question, beta, let me explain a thing here. So, okay, if such a question comes, then as you are reading the passage, you'll be eliminating some of the options, except, right? So you're reading the first paragraph, you say, oh, I find the information. It is not except, it is there in the passage. So I can cross this out. Second one comes. So as you are reading and you are reading the question number two, say twice, thrice, you would answer it by the time you come to the middle of the paragraph. That question would have been answered. You would go, Acha, ye to hai nahi. This is not there. And let me answer it. Okay. So you give it a shot, see if it works for you. See whether reading the passage and the questions together work for you. Which one is not correct is what is being asked. Let's take one by one. Individual anarchism, one by one. Yashivita, let me help you because I know this is again a direct question. This is again a direct question. I'm pretty certain you'll be able to answer it if you were reading the passage again and again. बार बार अगर passage दिखाऊंगा, this question can also be answered. Why I'm making you do this is to understand that CAT is not such a big deal if you know what to do with it. Okay, if you attend the classes regularly, get those tools that I have to teach you and put it to practice. and make your own adjustments also. I'm not saying that you have to stick to whatever I teach you to the T. No, make your own adjustments also, and you'll see you're doing really well. There is not much difficulty there. Okay. Individualist anarchism is actually constituted of many streams, all of which focus on the autonomy of the individual. True or false? Individualistic anarchism, the last two paragraphs, they are talking about this. So that is true. The first one cannot be the answer. Okay. The first one cannot be the answer because first one is true. We are looking for a false answer. Next one. The popular perception of anarchism as espousing lawlessness and violence comes from a mainstream mistrust of collectivism. Is this comes from a mainstream mistrust of collectivism? कलेक्टिविज्म के मिसट्रस्ट के चलते ये अनर्किज्म की कॉन्सेप्ट ये अनर्किज्म का कॉन्सेप्ट एज एस्पाउसिंग लाइक प्रमोटिंग लॉलेसनेस. अनर्किज्म का मतलब है लॉलेसनेस, इसीलिए कि भाई कलेक्टिविज्म पे विश्वास नहीं. कलेक्ट दैट इफ यू अंडरस्टैंड दैट सेंटेंस इट्स प्रीटी इजी. कलेक्टिविज्म पे विश्वास नहीं. कई बार ऐसी बात हुई है मैंने. डू यू अंडरस्टैंड कि इन एट एनी प्लेस that in the entire passage that collectivism, the anarchism exists because of there is mistrust in collectivism. Collective thought, that is collective interest, is what people do not like when they want anarchism. Does it look like that? Even from the first passage itself, it says it was always for everybody being equal. It was always for everybody being equal. But if we came to the same kind of things that were happening even at other times, that's a different story. But then always we have been having that there is no mistrust of collectivism. Second is the correct answer. Second is the correct answer, because this sentence itself, if you understand, it goes against the grain of the passage, and that is what it is saying. Except, so the second one. Okay, let's try the third question. Again, see, two questions were direct. Let's try the third one. According to the passage, what is the idea that is common to all forms of anarchism? Again, from the passage itself, don't have to look further, don't have to think too much, just have to spot all the information and then put it together. Which one? According to the passage, what is the one idea that is common to all forms of anarchism? Or let's say the previous question asked differently. The previous question asked differently. Both of them are two sides of the same coin. So ना एक ही क्वेश्चन को दो बार पूछा गया. ठीक है. People who understand it, they'll just because you answered the previous question as two, you'll choose one here. उसी के basis में. Sometimes very good. Ashish, Ankit, very good. Okay. If you answered second to the previous one, which means which one is not the idea of anarchism, which one is not the idea of anarchism, then immediately you get the answer to this also. So what is the idea of anarchism? Okay, समझ रहे हो, मैंने दोनों तो एक ही चीज है. And you got the answer, Ashish and Ankit. Very good, very nicely done. Shruti, very good. Nadeem, no beta. Read one more. Nadeem, read all the options and you will get it. And also think about the last question that you answered. Very good, Lalita, Aditya, very good. Okay, so this is fourth. They are all opposed to the centralization of power in the state. Yes, of course. Anarchism starts because everybody wants individual autonomy is what everybody is looking for, or collectivism is what is looking for. So the centralization of power in the state is what one hates. Okay, and these concepts are so relevant. I'm surprised at times how history can keep repeating itself. Okay, you will see this all the time happening everywhere in the world. Okay, everybody who comes to power saying that I want to work for the say betterment of people, they want to be dictators themselves. Okay, it's such a thing. This is such, I don't know. This keeps happening. Okay, I will see to it that the poorest of the poor benefit. And as soon as I come to power, the richest of the richest benefit. ठीक है? Suggesting the same idea. They all focus on the primacy of the power of the individual. Okay. Now, very good, Ashish. That's a very good question. But you come to the question itself. Now, many a time, why we get stuck is because of the question. Common to all forms of anarchism. I did not ask you what is true according to the passage. Okay. I did not tell you what is true according to the passage one. And here they have talked about two things. Collectivism is also acceptable. Collectivism is also acceptable is what is given in the passage. So they all focus on the primacy of the power of the individual, and this will suggest that we are not interested in collectivism, which is a wrong suggestion if I don't write it fully. Therefore, the question is this one is partial. The answer is partial. It does not contain the entire answer, because if I take this off, the collectivism part of it, then I may actually misunderstand the sentence. Get it, Ashish? Huh? And they are all opposed to the centralization of power in the state. That's true. That's absolutely true. And two is partially true. If I don't write the collectivism part of it, then it is only partly true. Haha. They all derive from the work of Pierre Joseph Proudhon. Is not given anywhere. It's not suggested anywhere. Question number 3. Okay. So let's come to the next one. Question number 4. The author believes that the new ruling class of politicians betrayed the principles of the French Revolution. First paragraph, first slide towards the end of it. Okay. But does not specify in what way. In the context of the passage. Now, this is an indirect question. In the context of the passage, which statement below is the likeliest explanation of the betrayal? The author explains that the new ruling class of politicians betrayed the principles of the French Revolution. So, French Revolution, what was the principle? The principle was socialism, communism. Okay, that individuals, every individual is important to the society, and that it is the welfare of the society itself. But does not specify. But they betrayed it. In what way? So, what must they have done? Is the likeliest explanation of the betrayal. Explanation of the betrayal. Don't repeat what the question says. The question says they betrayed them. They betrayed the people. Why must they have done it? Why is to be answered? Understand the question well. Again and again, I tell you, it's not the passage which is difficult. It is the question. You misunderstand the question, you'll get it wrong. You'll say first one is the answer, or second one is the answer, like that. Okay, you'll jump because you have not understood the question well. The question says why. Again, you see the two answers are wrong. Rohan and Ankit. The first one is wrong. Ashish, that's why you are repeating the question. Understand the question. मैंने बोला वो आंसर है ही नहीं, वन आंसर नहीं है. चलो मैं let me tell you very clearly. First is not the answer. Why? Absolutely, Ashish. You got it now. Vaibhav, Shruti, no. Vaibhav, Shruti, no. No, understand. See, पहले question को समझो, पहले को reduce करो. Reduce the question to a pattern that you will understand. Why do you think? Why do you think the the people who were leading the French Revolution? Why do you think it was called a betrayal? What must have happened? That they did the same thing, right? They did the same thing that which you overthrew. Napoleon Bonaparte. Okay, you overthrew the same. They did the same thing. They overthrew. So how must they have done? What is the best explanation? According to the passage, the new ruling class was constituted mainly of anarchists who were against the destructive power of the destructive impact of the revolution on the market. Third would actually be supporting the idea that you wanted to overthrow the this one, the existing power. It is not an explanation. It actually tells you what happened in the French Revolution. I want the explanation for the betrayal. Explanation for the betrayal. Therefore, understand the question well. Which one? The answer is fourth. Okay. What must have happened? Why did they betray them? What do we mean by betray? Dhoka dena. Dhokha dena. Okay, to deceive. Now, when do you deceive? When you do the opposite of what you promised. When you do the opposite of what you promised is when you deceive. Okay, so understand the word betrayal. Which one shows a betrayal? Which one shows a betrayal? The explanation for the betrayal. Or what would constitute a betrayal? Fourth, follow. Fourth is the question itself. The new ruling class rose to power on the strength of the. See, the question is, see, the question is what will explain it? There is a betrayal, I know. Why did the betrayal happen? Or how did it happen? How did the betrayal must have happened? How did the betrayal happen? Is the question. The question is different. I'm not asking you what is the betrayal. I'm not asking you what is the betrayal. I'm asking you how did the what do you think made the betrayal happen? How did the betrayal happen? Yeah, वो लिखा नहीं है कि how did the betrayal happen. I said, see, it's a betrayal, but how is it a betrayal? You are not explaining that. See, it clearly says, but does not specify in what way the betrayal happened. So in what way should it have happened? How should it have happened? अब बताओ. Now take the first and the fourth and think. Get it? So it is understanding the questions. That is what I keep telling my students. Yes, you will get stuck in. See, you'll get stuck in more than one option. Then what you do is read the question. See, this is one thing again you do. When you're stuck in two options, go back to the question. Go back to the passage if you want to, or keep going back to the question and keep evaluating the options. And don't take a preference. You say 1 and 4. You tell yourself, mind, talk to yourself. Say, mind, you have to tell me which one is the correct answer. I'm not going to take a preference. I'm not going to take a preference. You're going to tell me which one is the correct answer based on logic. You'll spot it. You will spot it. Because then your mind will work to reduce the question to a very simple form. And then you'll find an answer. Okay? So again and again, keep asking the questions that you ask me. So why not first? Ask yourself, why not first? First तो सही लग रहा. Why first क्यों नहीं होगा? Again and again when you ask, you will find the answer. Okay? So that, how was the session? How did you like it? Now you know what has to be done. Okay? Now you know what has to be done. So make sure that you put these, what kind of passages come, kaise karna hai, kya karna hai. Developing a strategy is the most important thing you do. Okay, in the next few weeks, next few weeks, make sure that you are doing a lot of questions. And if you do not know indirect ones, then focus on indirect ones more, because that is where if you get a problem, then focus on those more. ठीक है? नहीं तो वैभव ये भी बात करो ना, ये भी बात करो. लास्ट क्वेश्चन छोड़ देता हूँ, जरा ज्यादा डाइसी था. Okay, the last question was a little dicey. All the other questions were easy, so I've answered 3. Why should I answer the 4th? This is where making that decision not to attempt the question will come into play. The 3, you are pretty much certain the answer about the answers. At the 4th one, you were not sure of. So I'll keep it in the way. I'll not mark it. If I'm so much stuck in it, I'll not mark it. Why get a negative mark? 3 to answer kar diya. Okay. Approach is what, and then don't get stuck into a passage. Don't get stuck into a passage. Always move out and think. Move out of the passage and think. What am I supposed to do? Is it about answering all the questions correctly because I'm going to get more marks? No. Okay, so I can as well go to the next passage. I can as well go to the next question. That's what you need to focus. That's why I say develop a strategy. It's very important. Bye bye. See you all. See you in the next class. Bye.